All right.
Recording. Okay. Hi, everybody. Nobody's here yet. It'll take a minute, but so for the recording, this is, I'm Doobie. And I am an astrologer and a tarot reader, and I think I might pull a card for our new moon in Gemini. Yeah, I have my deck right here. We are live streaming this on Facebook. Let me just make sure that's working out. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, there's a couple of people there. So live streaming on Facebook is kind of an all new thing for me. If anybody has questions, you can post them underneath and I'll try to keep an eye on it. But yeah, most everybody who's going to be here is going to know me. So I'll let Michelle introduce herself and then we'll kind of talk about how this is going to go.
Thank you. My name is Michelle Rodriguez. I work normally with Herba Buena. It's a company that has a lot of herbs and rituals and basically kind of merging set energies and making sure that they don't stay housed stagnant in your body. So kind of helping them move around during your waking time so you don't have lots of aches and pains. Sometimes when we're working through either traumas or issues or understandings, we might get some pent up energy. So a lot of what I do is working with my curanderismo ancestry, as well as with other tools that I have learned along the way with the family here, as well as our ancestors. So I love spending time with Zube as we talk about the moon, because I think it's super important when people ask questions and we learn together and move together, and we get different kind of insights. So I really appreciate spending time with you again.
Same. Okay. Okay, so first, this time we're going to do a ritual.
Yes. All
Okay.
right.
And we're going to show you how not big of a deal it can be.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yep. So what I'm going to ask is, you have a stick of incense. You can use any sort of smudging tool as well. You're going to need any type of container. Okay. It can be glass, it could be metal, it can be anything. Okay. And then you're going to use some leaves. Sometimes you can find them in your backyard. You can find them on bushes. If you have bay leaves, that's what I'm going to be using today. And what we're going to do is I'm going to show you how we're going to clear some space for you to focus on certain things during the new moon. So this can be something that has been on your mind, something that you've been feeling in your heart, or something that maybe has continued to pop up and you're just, I have more questions about this. I want to get, what does this mean? I want to understand what I'm hearing or what I'm seeing or what I'm feeling a little bit more. So wait till she gets back.
okay.
See
I'm
what
getting
she
my
thinks.
bay leaves.
Yes. All right.
Okay. Perfect.
Sometimes in your area, you can put like a call out. I know here in South Texas, I actually got a call out for someone who had a bunch of these and they were just, you know, giving them away. I said, hey, I'm looking for some bay leaves, and they had like 5 or 6 different bags that they kind of made clippings off of. So check out neighbors, friends, things like that. Sometimes they can help you out. So what you're going to do, awesome, is you're going to take your container and you're going to take your incense, your smudge, whatever it is that you're using. You're going to use that smoke that comes from it, and you're going to set space inside the container. How you do that is you stick the smudge or the incense Okay. And when you're putting the smoke inside the container, you're thinking of all of the questions that you might have, all of the swirls that kind of continue to pop up for you. You're making space and intention inside this container. Then what you're going to do with your leaves is you can write on them. You can take a pen or a marker and you can write what the thought is, the place in your body, or what continues to pop up. So for me, let's see.
Questions and we learn to.
I'm sorry.
Sorry, I just was opening the page.
right
and
on.
started that was you. Talking to yourself.
The question that I might have is going to be related with time. Okay.
Mhm.
So this might be time that I need or time that I think is constricted. This might also mean time to set aside, right? It's exploring that time. And I'll put that in that container. Okay. The other way, if you don't want to write anything on it, sometimes writing something down sometimes might be a bit too, I'm not exactly sure what word I want to put on there. So what you can do is you can take the intention that you have, the thing that you're thinking about, and you can blow it into that leaf. Okay, it's called a kintu or a prayer. Okay, so you're going to blow into it 3 times what it is that you have on your mind or your heart or you have questions about. And you're going to put that into the jar as well, the container. So once you have all the things, I wouldn't put too many in here, just maybe 2 or 3, okay? I don't want you to set it aside. Tonight or whenever the new moon is, you can light a candle, okay, to hold a vigil. Keep those things in your thoughts, in your mind, and ask for answers. Ask for clarity. Ask for direction. Sometimes in it, knowing that you would like to have more information or more direction, or you have these questions, but sometimes we don't ask for help. Ask for understanding. Ask for maybe some patience. So this is what that new moon ritual is doing. It is allowing us to take a breath from what it is that might be continuing to pop up. It's allowing us to engage and communicate with the universe in a little bit of a different way. It's taking it out of this kind of anxiety-filled energetic body and putting it into another vessel to focus its energy to gain clarity.
Mhm. And it's simple. It's really simple. I mean, you don't have, and for the new moon and the full moon, I always think of it as like, you can do it the day before, you can do it the day of, you can do it the day after. Like, it, you know, the energy, they say 3 days, but I like to say, so within 3 days of when, you know, front and back, the full moon is exact. So, or the new moon somewhere in the middle. But yeah, I mean, sometimes if it like, at first I would do like these ornate kind of things, and that got to be, it just gets to be too much. And then you're just like, oh, ain't nobody got time for that. So so just do like, yeah, it's just a little something like that.
And you'll be surprised in the morning when you wake up or over the course of the next couple of days, the things that you asked about, you might actually gain some more clarity, write things down,
Mhm.
Ask more questions when you're going out and you're going to be in public or you're going to be in nature. See how these things that you set aside time for an intention, see how they open up for you.
Mhm.
See what they move. See how you respond to a request for more information or for more time or for clarity. You'll be surprised sometimes once you give yourself permission to put that on the table for yourself, how things meet you in that request.
Yeah.
The action of putting yourself as a priority or putting clarity as a priority, it does indeed have a huge ripple effect with meeting that answer.
Mhm. That way it's not just spinning around in your head. And with this, so then we can kind of talk about, do it this way, talk about the Gemini energy, and you and I do our back and forth a little bit. And then at the end, I'll show the chart for people who are interested in that or.
Yes. And I have some really important questions
Oh,
about that chart. So I'm super excited. Yes.
yay. Okay. Well, so in general, I think it's good to talk about Gemini stuff, right? So this new moon can feel kind of heady, which is why also it's a good idea to write something out. You know, Gemini is an air sign, so air signs think a lot. It's ideas, there's the twins, and so, they're talking to each other, right? So it's this back and forth that we have in our mind, the back and forth that we have with other people. So there's a lot about ideas, thoughts, information, our environment, who's around us, who are we talking to, what kind of information are we seeking, what kind of information are we, is finding us. So this is a very, like, we're looking at our thoughts and our ideas with astrologically with this new moon. So
Yeah. And so I have a nephew
yeah.
who's actually a Gemini,
Mhm.
and it is very interesting the way that he's very clear
Mhm.
on what it is that he likes, but he likes a lot of things,
Mhm.
right? And he is very excited and inquisitive
Mhm.
about those things. But you're right, that reflective runs through his brain all the time. So he's thinking.
Yep.
When I look at that, sometimes I'm also interested in how is it that I'm following through, right?
Yep.
So if we have a million different things on our brain right now, how is it that I follow through on one thing? Does it mean that when I write out my planner, or I have meetings to go to, or I have planned something in advance, am I making sure that I'm following up with that? Because right now is a very good time where you're going to forget a lot of those things, right?
Mhm.
You're going to miss it by an hour, or you're going to cross different days. So give yourself more space, more grace, more time, with knowing that you're going through a little bit of an ADHD moment when we're talking about
Yeah, basically.
zodiac, because it kind of shovels everything up to the forefront, but it's because it's running at a high speed right now.
Yeah.
And I think that it's an interesting time then to also we talked about grounding ourselves,
Mhm.
but I think it's another interesting time to find a way for you to be able to relax. And I mean,
Mhm.
relax in something that you really dig. Relax in something that is going to make you happy, bring you joy, be kind of in a moment where you're in that childlike state, because that is going to ground you better at this time than is, like, if you're not necessarily down for going for a walk in nature, you're just thinking about the bugs or the scorpions or snakes or whatever, spiders, and it's just not your jam. then do something that is, that will kind
Yeah.
of bring you back from that heady space.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's getting hot up in there. So
Yeah. Well, we have a lot in Aries right now also, like a lot of planets. Yeah, I mean, the chart is really interesting. Another thing with Gemini, so you were saying childlike, and that is what it is. So like incorporate play into things that you want to start or get into, make it fun. Something that I try to do is be curious about life, like be curious about your new ideas. Like, with the new moon, we're always setting an intention, right? Like the sun and the moon are meeting up and we're starting something. It's like kind of a clean slate. So with Gemini, we want to be optimistic and childlike about our ideas. Now, Saturn is a little involved in this one. I'll get into that, but we'll get into Saturn. But in general, like, if you have a new idea, this is really an idea, new moon. So if you have an idea or something like that, don't negate yourself. Try to, get rid of that or recognize negative self-talk and be like, hold on, did I just dismiss something that actually is a good idea? In that running stream of monkey mind that we have, things will pop up that are, useful.
yeah.
So
So absolutely. So especially with the monkey mind, I caught myself when I was waking up over this past like couple of days, and I caught myself when I'd get up, go to the kitchen, look at whatever was left from the night before, thinking, oh Christ, right, I'm gonna have to do this or this or this or this or this. And I made this mental list of basically, you are going to be exhausted the entire day. So you might as well start it now, because if you don't, it'll take you until you go to sleep to finish, right? So I had to check myself really, really, really quick about, wait a minute. Why did you talk yourself into this contract of you being worn out? Like, you've already written yourself off before the day has even begun, that you are just, this is just going to be horrible. It's going to suck, right? You're just going to be serving all of that. Like, and that is that communication that you were talking about. That's really key.
yes.
Right? Because then if you get into that, then you're not going to go outside of your little bubble. You're not going to want to interact. You're definitely not going to want to, you're going to have to do a lot of pumping yourself up, right? A lot of like really, really, really hype talk. Yeah, okay, I'm excited to go out and drive around a big city or something like that, right? To go to something else. And I was reading that book. I think I put it online. I think I put it on Instagram. It says, oh my gosh, My Good Friend, the Rattlesnake. I think I was reading that by Don Jose Luis.
Ooh,
And
I like him.
yes. And I go, oh, I was really signing myself up for some shit. Like, why is it when I entered into this day did I not first think of, okay, maybe you need to practice a little bit of breath work, because I really suck at that sometimes, right? Taking a deep breath and then figuring out what it is that I want to focus on, rather than being led to do something else. What is it that I want to focus on? And I think that's where kids wake up in the morning and they're like, hot damn, I got a new day and I got everything that I could possibly want to kind of figure out, and I'm going to try it, right? My 3-year or my almost 3-year-old's really great at that. Like, this is the best day ever, every day.
Right.
So if we can catch ourselves in those contracts, those talks, those commitments that we kind of set ourselves up for, and then try to rewrite it, maybe that's a little bit of learning or unlearning that we do for this new moon. Maybe this is a little bit of rewiring that we work to push back in that childlike curiosity. Because I mean, it hit. I mean, damn, it hit. Like, I know there's always going to be dishes. There's always going to be laundry. There's always going to be whatever. Um, but yeah, it is incredible sometimes the way that you just go in full force thinking that you're going to have to tackle something that really is not that serious. Like,
Right. I mean, just the things that we tell ourselves, like our words have power, you
Yes.
know. And as you said, waking up in the morning saying, like, starting yourself off with you're basically like telling the universe how the day is going to go, you know, before you even have a chance to like start it.
Right.
Yeah. And I do that too. I mean, I wake up and I'm like, oh, I'm so, you know, so there really is something that feels very childlike about this new moon and trying to like revive that being curious about things, and giving new ideas a chance and new ways of thinking.
Yeah.
I'm going to pull a card really quick and then on the new moon. And then we'll do the chart because, yeah. So the new moon is ruled because it's in Gemini. Gemini is ruled by Mercury. And Mercury is in retrograde right now, in a square with Saturn. So, you know, retrograde Mercury is already reviewing things, right? And I don't think of retrogrades as that big of a deal. I rented an apartment during this Mercury retrograde because it wasn't fucking with any of my personal planets, right? When it's fucking with a personal planet, you might not want to, you know, and that's the thing about having your chart done. Like sometimes you might feel a Mercury retrograde and sometimes you won't because it's not messing with you. I also bought a car once during a Mercury retrograde. Like I always kind of check, you know, and there's computer stuff, but I think we can blow that up in our minds too. You know, it's like this speaking it into being, like this Mercury retrograde is going to suck. And then there's 3 sets of shitty weeks that you're going to have all year long. You just called it, you know,
because you go to the very beginning of it and you're like, well, let me see how long this sucker's going to last.
Yeah.
And then you're like, well, I'm effed until this time right here. And then I'm in the clear. And
exactly.
It's really kind of how we just kind of, we let ourselves talk us into the negative. So rather than being brave enough sometimes to say, well, I'm not exactly sure what it's going to look like, but I know what I want it to look like. I know what I want it to be, and I'm going to work towards that, what I'm interested in, what I'm curious about. Because it's real easy to let go and say, well, it's totally effed.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it is. Dude, this is unbelievable. I wanted to pull another one and I the cards that I got ready. So 8 of Swords.
Yes.
Victim mentality.
Yes.
The swords are our thoughts. This is gonna suck. You know what I mean? I feel like we might kind of be there because shit has been hard. And we've got our blindfold on, and the story behind the card is that she's only loosely bound. If she would just wiggle out of there, she thinks she's trapped in a circle of swords, but she's not. She could walk right out, you know, but it's kind of talking yourself into being stuck. So that's our negative thoughts. And this one, like these 2 cards in the whole freaking deck are the negative thinking cards. You know what I mean? So that is for sure what spirit wants us to look at with this is our thoughts. I mean, that's exactly what Gemini is. It's like are the thoughts, most importantly, the thoughts that we think every single day. That's what Gemini represents, like, you know, in the chart. And this right here is poor me. You know, these 2 they're having a hard time. I mean, they're injured and they're going through the snow. But what they don't know, because they're all huddled over, is they don't even notice that they're passing by a church where they could receive food and warmth and spirit, you know. And like you were saying, oh my gosh, ask your guides. I mean, you know, ask for answers to things. And I even forget that sometimes, like we're not doing this all alone. And if you don't believe in like all that other stuff, you can ask people, like ask for help.
Right. Because there is a huge community,
Mhm.
especially right now, that if someone shows a vested interest in, and you can reach out and feel the good from the, I don't really, quite know. But exactly, if you have a tribe right now, you have a community that you feel comfortable around, meaning in those moments where you're kind of by yourself and you can feel your energy and you feel calm,
Mhm.
and there's a group of people that you have, if you feel that same kind of support, right, then definitely this is a great time to kind of be in the mix with them. So that way you're able to bounce off maybe any of those negative ideations that you might have about yourself or about perception.
Mhm.
Because sometimes it does take someone else's, not energy, but someone else's kind of response to their
Yeah.
own situation, their own reality, to kind of help you get out of this cycle of, it's more of like a self-destructive kind of time bomb that goes off telling you what reality you think is the most horrific, messed up one that you can
Yeah.
possibly imagine. And with our friends, with our community, with our families, even
Mhm.
making sure that you show a little bit of that vulnerability, because when kids, we always say, hey, ask for help, right? Hey, ask somebody. Hey, you're not in this by yourself, right?
Mhm.
So when in going to that community or going to the family and saying, this is really sucky, this is what I'm thinking right now, I'm not great at this. I'm not great at time management. I'm not great at I'm overcommit to things. They might say, well, you don't overcommit to things. That's not what it is. It's you're excited about a lot of things. So let's talk about what it is that let's write it down and put what's high on that priority list. So again, with
Right.
what you're saying, I overcommit, right?
Yeah.
You're already knocking yourself down. I have poor time management. Maybe it's not poor time management. Maybe it's just making sure that you give yourself enough space to do what it is that you are invested in,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
Again, it is very much how we start with our own talk up here. When I think of Gemini, I think of like the two, they're not angels, but I had two opposing, like the twins, right, on one side of each other, and they're huge, right? They're just ginormous, overpowering, and you're this little one looking up. All right, am I being judged right now, or am I, really going to be not put to the test, but am I going to be looking for something that is outside of my reach? And it's
Mhm.
never outside of your reach. It is
Yeah.
never more than what you need to look for or find. It is always in there. It's asking to come out. And especially with Gemini's thinking and with Gemini's child, it's asking for new things to kind of be born all the time.
Yes.
It has a very high frequency energy, and it can run you ragged sometimes, right?
Yeah.
But
It's just a lot. There's going to be like a lot of things right now that are kind of demanding our attention. And one thing that I have been going through personally is that if I think about everything that needs to be done, and this probably goes also with like just spring and all this, but I have so many things to do. Sometimes when I look at it, I get the overwhelm, but it's like making each thing fun and just doing, all right, ready? I'm seeing like in my waitressing days, this table would need ketchup. This table would need their order taken. That table needs drink refills. So like you grab the ketchup, you grab the pitcher, And then you go back, you take the order. I mean, like, it's like kind of combining things, like, and just doing what you can and thinking on your feet. It's a quick time.
Yeah. So right now, the body parts that go with Gemini are your throat, your lungs, your breath, your hands, and then your nervous system. So this is where it's kind of getting racked right now, right? Your nervous system. And with, we're going to talk about the Pluto when we get to the chart and things like that, the squares and the conjuncts. So the reason that I'm taking a look at those specific body parts are going to be how we give or how we receive. If it's with a nervous tenor to it, then we're never really able to hold on to what it is that we need to receive. And are we really letting go of what it is that we no longer want? Okay. That's that nervousness, that heightened energy. We're not necessarily comfortable. Okay. So that's where the breath work comes into play. Even if you take a few minutes in the morning, a few minutes at night. There are apps, I think the Moonly app, and there's a couple of other apps that provide you with a breath like counter,
Right.
I guess, if you
Like
will.
tempo, or what would you call it?
Like an inhale and an exhale for you to kind of just stay in that rhythm, because it really does then quiet down that nervous, anxious, bitey kind of energy, right? The other thing when we're looking at our throat and our lungs, if we have a tendency to get wheezy right now, I know allergies are kind of acting up. This is going to be that perfect time for us to take a short break from any additional extracurriculars that we might do that cause sort of any bronchial distress, and work it with teas with you. Your mullein teas, you've got your nettle teas, you've got other relaxing teas like your bear root, your osha root teas. That is going to help as well clear and maintain the health, because we're going to need that. We're going to need that for our communication. We're going to need that so it doesn't feel tight and constricted. We're going to need that so we can move and actually communicate these intentions that we're asking answers for. So that's why in the body, when we talk about what body part is housed with the sign of the zodiac that we're working with right now, is because we might find kinks and pains and aches in those specific areas. We might figure that our arthritis is acting up. Those of us who might have any sort of autoimmune, you might find that heightened as well right now. Again, your anxiety is going, it's going to trickle down here. So it's important to regulate. Lemon balm helps with that. It's also called Melissa. So these are times to really take note of your body as your mind is working overtime.
Yeah. Yeah. The last card I pulled, I'm like trying to get to a good one, but they're really harping on the mind. It's all this is the 10 of Swords. The 10 of Swords is like just ending that cycle of negative thinking. You know,
Well,
it's
there's
like
a Pluto, right?
Yeah. And I mean, Pluto's in retrograde. So I'm going to bust out the chart.
Yeah.
Let's do that. Oops. There we go. Okay. So we have the sun and the moon here over in Gemini. And that is why it's a new moon, because the sun and the moon are at the same degree at 9 degrees. The sun and the moon are in a sextile with Jupiter and Mars, which is really amazing, actually. Mars is the warrior. Jupiter is knowledge. It's the teacher. It's, you know, it's sharing wisdom. It also amplifies things. It makes them bigger. But this, as an aspect itself, we might be feeling this as like aggression because they're in Aries. But if we take that on an individual level and utilize the energy to invest in these intentions, this new beginning in our own thinking, it can be a good thing. So it's in a sextile with Jupiter and Mars, which is this blue line right here. And it's ruled by Mercury. So we have Mercury over here in Taurus at 26 degrees. Mercury in retrograde. Now, when Mercury is in retrograde, and that is the ruler of this new moon, it means Mercury is our mind. It rules Gemini. So it's those thoughts and information and all of that. When it's in retrograde, it's in a period of review, renewing. And that's why they caution about like signing a lease or signing documents or something like that, especially if it's interacting with somebody's birth chart in particular. But because sometimes things that are signed at this point in time are going to have to be refigured out, right? But Mercury, it's like in this, it feels like we are going back, and it's in Taurus. Taurus is about building things. So this is what we want to build and create. And Mercury is going back and reviewing the way that we think about what we want to create and what we want to build. And it is in a square, that's the red line, over here to Saturn. Excuse me. And Saturn is in Aquarius. Saturn is at 25 degrees. So Mercury being squared by Saturn while it's in retrograde, and Saturn in Aquarius, the way we want to kind of think of that, Saturn is feeling confined or restricted or obstacles or doing things the right way, doing them with integrity, having authority. In Aquarius, Aquarius is a collective sign. So Saturn, it's almost kind of like we may have others who are criticizing us or what we think others are thinking about what we're doing. So it's kind of, we're trying to rectify what it is that we want to build. And what other people think of it could somehow be impacting that, right? So we want to be really clear on our thoughts. And that's what we're trying to figure out while Mercury is in retrograde. It is also in a trine to Pluto over here. Pluto is transformation, change, death, rebirth. So like we're killing old thoughts, like old ways of thinking, limiting beliefs, maybe even stuff that we started to create or ideas that we had that aren't working out. Like we might be facing the reality that they're not working out. So we have to kind of start from scratch. The other thing I want to point out, we have Uranus over here in Taurus as well. Taurus just had a lot of action. So that's when we go through what we want to build and create, right? So it's almost like last month or over the past 30 to 45 days or whatever, we might have been really thinking about like, well, I want to build this, I want to do this, I want to do that. And then now we're kind of going back and like in the execution of what we want to build, we've got to change our mind and get our head around some stuff that may not be working out. So we have Uranus over here. It's not really interacting with anything in Taurus at the moment. And then Venus, though, Venus just entered Taurus and she loves being in Taurus. So I kind of see her like, Taurus is her home. And when she's going through there, she's like on a shopping spree. Like, I want this, I want that, I want this. So that's why I was saying kind of the childlike curiosity and what you want and desire and like letting the ideas that you have pop into your head, not like batting them down automatically with that negative thinking, because Venus is really pointing at like her dream wish list. And that's something that we should honor because she's at home.
So this would probably be a really good time for you to ask for clarity on how it is that you can create a path for you to show up differently than maybe what you have shown up before.
Mhm.
Maybe it is an opportunity with this change, with this creativity to, while you might have a reputation for something that maybe is not high on your list of things that you want to continue with, this could be a great opportunity for you to recycle that energy into something different, into a plan of action or what it is that's on that wish list for you to move forward with. So again, when you're asking yourself, what is it that you want to write on the leaves or your intentions, those are going to be some things that you keep in mind or keep in your heart. So although maybe you might have been kind of flighty, or maybe you have this self-destruct kind of mechanism that goes off in you, it doesn't mean that you have to live in that place forever. It doesn't mean that you have to house that forever.
Mhm.
So when you talked about killing old thoughts, the Aquarius being the collective, and this idea of Saturn being this understanding of confinement, right? So
Yeah.
when we're getting out of these confinements, when we're breaking free of these changes, where are we going? What direction do we need? And this is where we ask those questions for clarity. Sometimes
Yeah.
we ask those questions for guidance. Sometimes it's muscle memory that we're using to pull that trajectory to us, and we end up landing not quite far off from where we were to begin with. So when we ask for help, when we ask for guidance, we're really asking this greater idea of our consciousness knowing where it is that we want to be, right? Because we've done a lot of work before and we're saying we're much different than where we were 5-10 years ago, right? We're asking deeper questions. We're moving in more of a direction of understanding and collective growth. So why is it that we don't know where we're going now? Well, it just means that we need a little bit more help, right? Sometimes, like we were talking about the new moon, sometime, or the full moon, sometimes this physical part in our reality hasn't quite caught up with what it is that we were intending. Doesn't mean it's not going to get there, but it means that we've got some more work to do.
Right.
That commitment that we have to ourselves when we're doing our communication work, when we're doing our deep dives into what it is that wires those thought patterns that we have. Be kind to yourself when you're reworking those.
Mhm.
Have a little bit of grace in understanding those painful parts that might pop up and find where that wound lies. Take care of it, nurture it like a child, like they play doctor and they really want to take care, and their attention is right on whatever it is that they're working on.
Mhm.
So sometimes to kill those old thoughts, those old patterns, we have to go back and find that peace. And sometimes it's messy. Sometimes it feels like we're not going to get out of that rut, but you carry those pieces and love those pieces, not letting its pain continue to be that thorn that's in your foot, pushing you this way or that way. But you love on it and you hold it as a part of you that you now learn how to walk a little bit better, a little bit differently. You know which socks to put on, you know what shoes to put on, you know how to nourish yourself. The new moon with the intention behind changing those thought patterns. With Venus being in Taurus, it allows that foundation, like you were talking about, that building, but it also asks you to be brave, right? Venus is very, very brave. So I find it interesting, and I wanted to talk real quick about squares and conjuncts. So when I see that word square, I think of like a boxing ring, not necessarily a huge boxing ring, but that's what I think of, right?
Yeah.
And a conjunct is more of like, hey, I'm a tag team.
Yeah.
Right?
So, yep. Squares are, I always think of like a fight, right? And, or an argument or a disagreement or something like that. And that's when they are 90 degrees apart. It's
Okay.
all geometry. So, yeah, I was going to say standoff, but that's more an opposition. Anyway, the conjuncts are, sometimes people think that that's always good, but it's not always good, because sometimes the two planets can, like, you know, kind of vie or compete for power a little bit. So it's about blending those energies, you know, in a conscious way. So like Mars conjunct Jupiter, is when that happened, it was when Mars went into Aries. And so a lot of people are saying like Jupiter represents learning and education and stuff like that. So one expression of that is the shooting. You know what I mean? Like a lot of people have related those two, because it was because they're in Aries, which is a volatile sign. Now Mars is at home in Aries because Mars rules Aries, right? And Jupiter, it's, you know, it's all right in Aries. It doesn't hate it, but it doesn't like love it either. And Jupiter just kind of expands things. So that it can be this like overly like warrior like kind of energy, because those two planets together, like that's kind of what they can equal. That's what I'm saying. If we consciously blend that, like that wanting to be big and wanting to be like, you know, Jupiter and knowledgeable and all of this with that warrior like energy in a conscious way, it can be into like new things that we want to do, like give it a release with this new moon. And with the sextile, that's right, because we kind of talked about that before. That's like a BFF energy, you know, where it's like those two, the sun and moon over here, and Mars and Jupiter are like in support of one another, and they're two conjunctions. You know what I mean? So we've got those four planets in good aspect to each other to really start something new, you know?
Right on.
So,
Yeah, I just want to take a quick moment and say for all the people that we did lose in the Uvalde shooting,
yes.
I really pray for this new moon that we do have more clarity of communication.
Of communication.
So just a second to talk about that. I just thank you. So
yeah, no, absolutely. And you know, listening to one another. Saturn, there are some people who are having a difficult time with their minds right now, because there is that square to Mercury. You know, so it's like Geminis often understand. I was just telling Michelle before we started this that I always think sometimes Geminis catch flack, but really it's because they listen to everybody, right? And they can kind of see both sides of things. So they're sort of known as like gossipy or backstabby. That's like the negative stereotypes of it. But it's not really true. It's just they go, oh, okay, I can see that. Oh, okay, I can see that. And the way I described it to Michelle is like, you have this person fighting with that person. And then the Gemini kind of going, oh, okay. And then they get sort of like that reputation, you know what I mean? But really they just listen. They listen to like everybody, and their information gather. So we really want to like listen to others. And if you're a person who, like I always say, like there's some stuff I'm struggling with right now, but I'm not like, I'm okay. Like if you're somebody who is okay right now and you can lend an ear or a hand, to somebody, do that, but like really set an intention around like your words and what you say you're going to do and what you actually do, and the way that you think about things. So this isn't just about the way that you talk to yourself, but like the way that you talk to other people, and listen to other people. So
Yeah, I think that as we go forward with our new moons and our full moons, it allows us the opportunity to see how we want to engage, how we
yeah.
want to engage with ourselves and how we want to engage with others. But it's also asking us to be responsible for that
Mhm.
energy that we put out or the energy that we bring in. Sometimes taking responsibility for that energy is something that might be uncomfortable and it might seem burdensome, but just like we were saying, if you have the ability to reach out to people
Mhm.
and you know that the self-talk is really not necessarily in a good space, this is our opportunity through Gemini to kind of push through what it is that needs maybe more clarity, more discernment.
Mhm.
Everything's getting hotter here in Texas, right?
Yeah.
Everything is warming up. The mornings, probably for maybe a good 2 hours, it's cool, and then it gets hot to the point where your skin, right, starts to
Mhm.
dry out. It starts to get kind of irritated as we have moved from the winter to the springtime, and now we're kind of going to be getting into the summertime here. It's time to tender that skin that we have, the exterior that we carry, what people see on the outside, but also how we feel in this skin, right? So when I say the sun, it means that things that are brought to light are going to really come at us. They're going to try to seep into our pores. It's going to try to, at times, tender us, maybe bring us inward to take care of what it is that we have. But this is also a time to reflect the sun and shine. This is a time to grow with that sun, to go towards the sun, not to shrink into the shadows. But with that revelation of the sun and us moving towards that for nourishment, for clarity, for focus, there are times in which we will need the safety and the sanctity and the sacredness of the night. So be kind to the growth that you're going through right now. Ask for guidance and directions from your guides and from your ancestors, and make sure that when you wake each day, that the purpose that you put forth is one that you're able to create in love, not in fear.
That's right. And yeah, I mean, and we did just come off of this eclipse, which was intense, that, in Scorpio. So a lot of secrets and dark things have been revealed, and, eclipses always bring like new information. So we're kind of integrating that information and doing something new, but anyway.
I love you. You're awesome.
I love you too. And Rosalinda was here. I don't know if she's still here. I don't know how to see who's here. But she said, I love the blowing the prayer onto the bay leaf. You would love Rosalinda.
Awesome.
Yeah. And then, yeah. So thank you. And thank you, anybody else who was here. Does anybody, oh, she's still here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you, Rosalinda.
Yes, and if anybody wants or has more questions about their birth chart or wants to see kind of where they're at, I would definitely recommend getting with Teresa about that, so you can really understand a little bit more about maybe what's grooving you or what's kind of still funky out there. It helps a lot.
It
So-
is, it is, I mean, it is helpful. And then Michelle, like with herbs and rituals and all that stuff, things that go bump in the night and anything that's bothering you. She said, thank you.
Yes, thank you for being with us and spending some
Yeah.
time. Yeah.
But, all right, well, I think we're gonna peace out. Have a
Mm-hmm.
great 2 weeks on Earth. We'll see you for the Sagittarius full moon.
Oh yeah, it's coming.
I know,
It is
right?
coming. Yep. Set your intentions and yeah, don't be afraid. Be brave with your intentions that you have with what you're going to create. So thank you
That's
guys.
right. Yep. And don't be that negative thinker. Think good things. All right. Peace.
All right.
Namaste.